Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and everything in between. Welcome back to GEEXX Reads. So today I want to talk about City of Blades by, what's his name? Robert Jackson Bennett, which you'll see an image of here. I know I've got an image on my screen over there, but it's such a small... Have you any idea how hard it is to find a decent image of a book cover? Why is it so hard? I have no idea. Anywho, this is a sequel to the book City of Miracles. Sorry, it's been a while since I read the first book. This is a direct continuation, although not quite exactly that. It takes place a few years later, about 3 or 4 years, about approximately 4 years later than the first book. Shara has been promoted to, obviously there's going to be some spoilers for their first book. The main character of that book, Shara, does not make any real appearances in this book. She has become prime minister, and as such, you know, her level of intrigue is a bit different. General Turian, sorry, his name is Turian Mulligesh. I can't pronounce these things. Anyway, she was colonel back in the first book. She was promoted and has retired. So Turian is the main character of this book. She retired to like a tropical island. Petrie from the first book, Petrie or Peter, it's got a Russian spelling, I think. Could be Peter, but he shows up on her doorstep, basically offering her a temporary job for reasons. Something's going on in the City of Blades, which is, again, something to pronounce. Vortashtan. Man, this sucks. City of Blades is easier to pronounce. So something's going on in the City of Blades. There's been a murder, or someone's disappeared. Which they assume is a murder. And weird things are going on. So basically, aside from Turian and Peter, the only character from the first book we meet again, I think, is Sigrund, who was Shara's assistant / bodyguard in the first book. He makes an appearance later in the book. He's not a major, quite as much of a presence in this one. One of the things I believe that she has chosen for this mission is because the current head of that city, which is under military control. Is it control? Damn, I started looking down at this. Military occupation, that's what it is. It's still under military occupation from the last war. The one who's in charge of the military occupation is her old commanding officer from the war. So that's one of the reasons she was sent there, to help work with him and try to clean this all up. City of Blades was once, if you recall from the first book, the gods were real, the gods were killed off. Each god basically had a city of their own in the region. The City of Blades, was the home of the god of death. Basically a warrior god who reveled in bloodshed and battle. She had multiple arms, she carried big swords. So military occupation isn't necessarily going well. They rarely do. I'm not sure how much that I can tell without giving away any spoilers. Also, it's been a little while since I've read the book. I'm just kind of pull up a shelf looking for something to review. We learn more of Turian's backstory, and a bit more of Sigrund's as well, even though, like I said, he doesn't appear right away. We get some more history from him. Turian joined the war as a teenager, underage. And war for a teenager is going to be hell. So we learn her relationship with her old commanding officer, what kind of commander he was, what kind of commander he is. And we do learn why Turian resigned, because she apparently resigned very abruptly. That's not a major spoiler. They reveal that in the first chapter. Also revealed in spoiler from the first book, she lost her arm in the battle, at the climactic battle at the end of the first book. So she's got a prosthetic limb that functions much better than our prosthetic limbs do. They seem to actually have some mobility and function, which is kind of cool, I guess. There is definitely something going on. I mean, the gods have been killed, the gods are dead, but something mysterious and potentially magical is happening. I think one of the things that Bennet does with these books, the two that I've read so far, I haven't read the third yet, is that he's crafted characters that I think are believable. They're not all black and white. They're very much shades of gray. No one is all good. No one is all bad. Well, can't say no one is all bad, but few people are all bad. And even the ones that are all bad might have, at least in the past, had some redeeming qualities. You know, they didn't start off being horrible villains. Even the people who become that way, you know, they have traumatic experiences that forge them into being less than a good person. You know, even like, you know, Sigrun in the first book, we learned about his backstory, about how, you know, his family was part of the ruling family, and they were overthrown, and he was thrown in prison, and basically became, you know, a brutal killer in prison for his own, you know, partly for his own safety, and partly because he thought his whole family had been killed off, his wife, his children, and just had nothing to live for, and just so, you know, didn't care if anyone around him lived or died. You know, so he became, you know, a physical monster in prison because of his circumstances. So, you know, like I said, he creates really good characters. I like the interactions between Tyrion and Sigrun. Even, you know, I like their interactions in the first book as well. You know, Sigrun's an interesting character because of his backstory and because of his tendency towards violence, which you don't necessarily excuse, but you can understand. You know, his years of frustration and rage. So without condoning it, you can at least understand why it's happening. And the same thing with, you know, with Tyrion's backstory and her problems. You know, she doesn't start the story off in a good place. You know, retirement isn't necessarily been good to her. Not that she doesn't have the money to retire well, but she didn't obviously retire in a good state of mental health, based on how we first see her in chapter 1. Not well at all. She has certainly not fallen from grace, but not taking care of herself, I think, is the best way to phrase it. But I like these people. But the story also does, because of that gray area, because of we're looking at things through, you know, that lens of bad things happening to good people, there are some dark moments. It makes me hesitant to read the third book because I don't know where the author's going to go after the end of this book. I have some ideas, and they're not going to be pleasant, considering how things have gone so far. You know, Shah is trying to reform the government from, you know, a dictatorship into a democratic republic. You know, trying to be fair to people, and as one can expect, people are used to being in charge without any consequences, don't like being made to face the consequence of their actions. So there's certainly, I think I phrased this for the review of Siege and Storm. This is more like The Empire Strikes Back of the trilogy. I haven't read the third one, but it definitely has the same. I didn't even think of that till just now. I just thought of that this is kind of like The Empire Strikes Back. You know, things have taken a darker turn. The rebels aren't doing so well. So this is definitely that kind of thing. If you read the first book, definitely recommend the sequel. And I definitely recommend the series. This is an interesting read because it's not quite as cliched as most fantasy novels are. It's still kind of cliched, but not quite as bad. It's thrown some new things at me. So, you know, I've enjoyed the series thus far because of that. It's a solid A, you know, not A+. The book, for all its thickness, this is a soft cover, not a paperback. So, you know, it may be 480 pages, but you know, it's wide spacing. I think you could condense it into a paperback of like 275 pages or so, you know. So it's a light read. But for all of that, it is a good read, I think. So I would highly recommend it. I don't do transitions well, so as always, thanks for watching. If you like my videos, really? And until next time, good hunting.